So fast forward, God, you started getting into your employment with the education system. Like, what was the inspiration behind that?
Um, Again, it was my family and our nation. At the age of 14, I had my first job, which I was a camp counselor at Morningside Park, right there down 125th Street.
Mm.
So at 14, I was taking care of younger people. At 15, I worked again at Morningside Park, taking care of younger people.
Mm.
So I was taking care of my younger brothers. Having older brothers and sisters take care of me, it
Mm.
kind of was just natural.
It's a part of the cultural tenet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something I was pretty much trained to do. Something that was embedded in me. As I told my old dad, it was something that was kind of like I was guided to, So it ended up not only being something that helped me just throughout life, help other people, but actually helped me grow as well.
So you became like a teacher or
Special education teacher. Yeah.
special education teacher?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So,
Now that's interesting. Now, why special education as opposed to regular education?
all right. So one because at special education, being a special education teacher allows me more flexibility to teach the students how I see fit. General education, teachers still have the ability to teach students as they see fit. However, they don't have the ability to use as many different strategies and techniques. In general education, students are expected to maintain with the pace, and the teacher is expected to guide the students along with the pace. Now, if that student cannot keep along with the pace, the teacher is kind of mandated by how the guidelines are to grade that student on their performance, not on what they could do. So when you know that there's certain things that's hampering the ability of the student, the teachers aren't able to kind of fix that problem just due to how the regulations are. With special education, you're allowed to differentiate. You can try as many tactics as you need to teach the student. It's not based on necessarily rigorous standards, based on actually improving the life of the student, and that's my main reason for teaching is improving the lives of people that I teach.
Okay, so what part of special education are you dealing with? Because all right, when I was coming up in school, there was something called Ms. One, Ms. Two, Ms. Three. Then it went into like the size six and whatnot.
Yes.
Are you familiar with these terms?
Not anymore. They kind of changed up the way they administer special education. A lot of lawsuits happened. A lot of different things are the reasons why.
Okay.
So now I'm with something called the ICT, special education teacher, an integrated co-teaching model, where there's one general education teacher and one special education teacher. Now we work together in a class that.
And you're the special education
Yeah.
teacher. Okay.
And the classroom was mixed up with students who have IEPs, individualized education plans, due to whatever the scenario is. Now they're not always necessarily have to have some type of disability, but they may have some type of need. So that's why they're considered special needs, because they have a need. But in my viewpoint, all children or all people are individuals, and they all deserve individualized education that's geared toward them for their success. So once I found out about how IEPs work, and it kind of is something that every student needs, it's a plan that's based on you, where you're at, and how the adults around you, the people around you, can support and help you. So with the model, we work with students with and without disabilities all in the same classroom, and the general education, special education teacher works together to teach both, so that no one knows who has IEPs and who doesn't, and no one is supposed to know who's the special education teacher, who's the general education teacher.
So, okay, so IEP is
Individualized education plan.
okay. Now it's interesting. Okay, now when I brought up Ms. One, Ms. Two, so Ms. One was the children that had difficulties in learning,
Yes.
right? Ms. Two were they labeled the Ms. Two ones was emotionally disturbed,
Yes.
and I think the Ms. Three was a combination of the two, and size six kind of went into like criminal stuff,
Yes.
you know. and you said that there was some lawsuits. Like so I'm interested in that, and as you see, I know a little bit about it because I come from a special ed background, right? You know, and back then, you know, because I never had a learning disability, right? But I was labeled as ADHD, right? And I was labeled, you know, somebody who just had all this energy, and I just I enjoyed fighting. You know what I'm saying? So they put me in Ms. 2, but then I wound up put in something called mainstream. So mainstream is kind of like what you're talking about, where it's you have the child integrated into the regular education or general education classes, and what's crazy is that like I want to be advancing and becoming the smartest kid in school. You know what I'm saying? According to, and going amongst the general education, and only my homeroom was considered special ed. So I'm interested in like how the education system handles that.
That dynamic.
It handles that dynamic.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a question first. What shifted that? Do you think that shifted from you being placed into that classroom to your performance increasing? Was it like a teacher you ran into?
No, I can read, I can count, but I it just seemed like like this is not enough. Like you know, like so my attention went elsewhere. You know, my attention went into poking at my other classmates, or talking or getting up, and I actually was using language that I found on TV or out in the streets in the classroom. Like I told the teacher to suck my divine eye. Like I just being very disruptive. You know what I'm saying? But what changed? Was so I went from a class of 30 plus students at a time to a class where it was like 9, 10 students. But in the special ed class, I was able to fight. Like in those regular ed classes, you fight, you get suspended. In the special ed class, they let you fight. They take you to the side, they let you cool off, and then you come back. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I got suspended and I got disrupted. My education it's more like just chill out, come back. And then I also learned how to direct my energy a little bit more in terms of how to not just always just be confrontational. I learned how to kind of just this other person got some issues too. You know what I'm saying? So my problems are not the only problems in the classroom. So I guess that was the kind of like me just paying attention to it. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to like how do you see that whole dynamic? Because you say the IEPs, they kind of include. It seems like, at least from my experience, the mainstream has merged with the special education in a way. Whereas back then they was trying to merge it where they put me in mainstream, but it still was a separate thing. So now they're actually integrating. How many students are there at the time?
It could be up to 25, 26 to even 30. Now, when you have the self-contained classrooms, that's when you start getting the ratios, like maybe one teacher or 3 paras, and then maybe
3 paras.
Yeah, and then maybe about 6 to 9 students. So you got different ratios.
3 paras? Like that's crazy though.
Depending on the needs of the classroom, that's kind of how it gets staffed. And there's certain actual requirements, like certain students have in their IEPs that they must have a paraprofessional to support their learning throughout the process.
Right.
Now, what I take away from what you said, so their environment changed, their expectations changed, and you found like some coping methods, pretty much, or some methods to kind of direct your energy. Yeah,
and also at that time they were medicating kids. You know what I'm saying? They were medicating, and Ritalin is that part of the lawsuits that you were talking about, or?
I'm not that I've seen directly, but just in general, the lawsuits are how special education teachers, students were treated. Some have mandated services that they were not receiving. You had the names of special education services from the history of special education. You had like some like the schools for the imbeciles. different things like that.
School of imbeciles.
Yeah, special education in New York, I did a thorough history of it, and it was just the names of what they called them at the time. So special education in New York has a very detailed history, I would say.
God, I've seen some wild things in my time in special ed. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like, I've seen kids, like, like the psychologist that the school recommended to my or recommended that I be put on Ritalin.
Yeah.
Right? I was put on Ritalin, and the same teacher that I was terrorizing saw that and actually told my OR, don't do that to him. Said, don't do that to him. And my OR discontinued it immediately. Yeah. So I might have taken it maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
But then I seen students, my peers, on Ritalin, and that really slowed them down. That really damaged their growth and development. So when you speak of like lawsuits and you speak about this history of New York City special education, and then you're telling me now like the changes that are taking place. Yeah. It's very fascinating to me. You know what I'm saying?
It actually is. There's a lot of history I'm not going to go into right now, but the history of education in general in the U.S., just in the world education, especially the U.S. and New York, is very interesting. And this kind of lends to one of your questions that you asked me about what's one of the solutions. Is we have to put ourselves where the children are, whether it be inside their schools, whether it be in their communities, whether it be where they go for entertainment. We need to implant ourselves there so that when whatever issue they deal with as they grow up, they have somebody sensible to help guide and direct them. And that's kind of was my idea of becoming a teacher. Matter of fact, you are a big influence when I became a teacher as well.
Oh wow, really?
Yes.
Wow, peace, God.
Yes, yeah. You had a video where it was ABG7, and he was saying that back in I forgot what year, that they was telling brothers and sisters were coming to I guess their elders and saying that they were having issues inside the school systems with their children and the school staff. The ABG7 said that it was advised that all the brothers and sisters go into the schools, whether it be parent teacher associations or whatever it was. I took that and was like, let me become a teacher. I'll be in the school. I'll be able to help not only my child, but all the other children that's around there. And it worked out like that. I was actually the only male teacher in one building. Out of about 40-something teachers, I was the only male teacher. And then in the other building, there was only about 3 male teachers and about 60 female teachers. I mean, no disrespect. I'm not trying to separate this by gender.
No, God. Well, that's important, though. Yeah. Because I could say in my time of schooling, I had very few male teachers. Yes. And they, and a lot of times they were weird. They were, something was off with them. You know what I'm saying? But that's an interesting dynamic.
You must do your own research, as I did.
INFMEGA did this.